Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show. I'm Atiq Ahmed Bhatti, a fourth generation homeopath with over 25 years of professional experience and practice in this field of healing. The Homeopathy Health Show is the online voice of homeopathy around the world, promoting and raising awareness of this truly unique system of healing, which is suitable for all ages, young and old. Every week I invite guests from the world of homeopathy to come and share their experiences, their work, offer insights, and essentially talk all things homeopathy. Why not visit www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast button to listen to the latest episodes. So let's begin today's show here on UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted to have my guest on today's Homeopathy Health Show, and that is none other than Ton Jansen, an internationally renowned homeopath, alongside my dear friend Roger Savage, who has been on the show several times now. Now, I do get asked a lot about Ton, as in, who is Ton Jansen? Well, it's your lucky day, because we're going to find out, and we're going to also talk about homeopathic detox and human chemistry, which is a therapy method, a protocol that's been developed by Ton Jansen to further help patients as far as detoxification is concerned and the current state that we find ourselves in today. So without further ado, Ton Jansen, absolute joy. I'm thrilled that you're on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much that you invite me on your show, on your podcast. So, and that I'm in a possibility to spread the news about new steps in homeopathy.
Thank you. And I must say thank you to Roger Savage, of course, for the introduction. And Roger, welcome back. It's great. We have to stop meeting like this.
Well, it's remarkable. I mean, to come 3 times in 2 months is absolutely wonderful. But I wanted to bring Ton on because, as somebody said, hearing other people talk about Ton's work is not the same as hearing Ton talk about his work. Because, Ton, you alone know the steps by which you came to work out how to treat really complex cases and shift problems that other people haven't managed to do. So I think if you could explain how this started and how it's developed and how it's part of a bigger picture in terms of making people well, I think that would be wonderful for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just add to that nowadays, patients, just as some background, patients come with a myriad of complaints. And even though it's, let's just take an acute case, for example, even an acute case can be very complex. And no patient is, I've just got a headache. There's always so much more. And this is, a lot of this is to do with the current environment, pollutions, the pollution, the chemicals, the toxins, electromagnetic frequencies. And, you know, our cells are all over the place and there's no peace inside. And if there's no peace inside, of course, the body is going to react very negatively.
Yeah, and there is no peace in the chemical structure in our system. We have a lot of pollution. Amazing what we think is healthy and brings on us to a better life. It brings us down, not up to real health and also mental health, because they are working together. So we need to when we start with patients, we need to cure and help the patient with the reason of the visit. This reason, there you can only act on because the energy is there. That's also what Hahnemann says. So the acute things are a pop-up from the constitutional part of the patient. But there are a lot of blockades before you can heal the patient. I had seen years in my practice when I started, we had beautiful results. But the patients come back with new complaints or the same complaints again because the blockades were still there. And we, in Hahnemann, in the Organon-Stat, it's necessary to remove the obstacles before you can help the patient to heal himself. So, and that's what I also saw in my practice. And then on a moment in 1993, I thought, what is going wrong in my practice? That people not cure lasting. It's necessary. That's only curing when it is lasting. So, and I thought, what is there? And there was one moment I thought I quit with my practice. And then I thought, no, this is not my path, because I'm gifted with the knowledge to let it grow and to find the gap in the treatment. And then I read the Organon more times, 3 times, and the third time I thought, this is what I need to do. We need first to get rid of the obstacles. And then I need to thought, what are the obstacles? And then I thought, nearly 10% of the young children has problems with their health. And when they are, how it becomes that they are not so healthy as when I was young. We had no autism. I can imagine when I was in my classroom with 32 children, there was maybe one ADHD, but no autism. And the people were healthy, get the measles, get all children diseases without any problem. So measles was no problem at all. There was not a disease where children from die. Children never well since, always with running noses and cough and lung infections and autism and all kinds of. And we were able to help them a bit, but not completely cure of it. And still, it is a problem to do this completely, but we bring it to a high level. I see some patients with autism who cured for 100%, but most of them are 80 to 90%. So they have a much better life after the treatment. And then, so I find the toxins like vaccines, antibiotics, bowel nosodes. The most children who comes in my practice who never well since, I start with vaccines and antibiotics to get. I use the antibiotics to get healthy a microbiome again, because young children has already a leaky gut syndrome. That's really crazy. So the microbiome is the most important thing for life, because in our guts, serotonin will be for 90% produced by our guts, not by our brain cells. They say that it is in our brain, but it isn't. Only 10% of the serotonin. So we have a lot of depressed children who are not in balance with their mood, and they eat a lot of sugar. So they have a dopamine resistance, because they have in sugar, there is a lot of exophene, and that gives also a problem. And so I start to think and walk through all the cases I get from patients, and I find a way to bring them on a higher level from health. and this is with human chemistry. So the chemistry about how neurotransmitters work, how you can use neurotransmitters, how hormone system works, how the interaction with the neurologic system and neurotransmitters. And I made drawings that you can see it in my book from how it works, and I teach it. And I'm so happy to do this. And the colleagues in all the world who works already with this method with classic homeopathy next to it, and in a way this is classic homeopathy, but according to Organon, it's still classic homeopathy because you need to remove the blockades.
At the time of Hahnemann, and certainly even the early sort of 20th century, the patients were much. One could say that the diseases, even though they were rampant, but they weren't as complex as they are today, and because of the advancements that we have achieved as a human race, there's always side effects with everything. There's the old saying: there's everything in moderation. Don't always keep the middle path. Don't be extreme from one side to the other. And I find as well that nowadays there is so much toxicity that we're all bombarded with. I mean, just this podcast, for example, there's a mobile phone, I have a screen, I have these headphones on, as you can see, and then there's a mic, and then there's another screen over there to my right, and I'm surrounded by different types of frequencies, and we know it's not good, but we okay, maybe, like I said, some things in moderation, but when it comes to a patient's health and the way that they come through and the fact they're not responding, it truly paints that picture, doesn't it, of peeling back the layers of an onion. It's so true now, more than ever before, because there's layers upon layers of toxins and pollutants and chemicals, and it's playing havoc, isn't it? It's playing havoc with people's mind.
Yeah. So we need to understand that 5G, that's our waves like our brain cells has with each other, with the connection. Really the same. So most people are very tired, and you see a lot of people who has dizziness, and they go early to bed. They are addicted to cell phones. They look to all the podcasts.
Oops.
Even the podcast we made, I hope.
Please.
Yeah. So the addiction now on medication, the wrong food, the food industry, it is really amazing what we eat nowadays. All kind of rubbish. The food industry is making no food. They make filling. So we need to edit the advices, individual advices for patients for healthy food, for vitamins and minerals. We need to advise them to take them. If I look to children with blood research, then I see very often very low vitamin D, even levels of 6, and it need to be 75. I saw that people who watch a lot of screens, more than 5 hours a day, the blue light in the screen sucks your vitamin D.
That's interesting.
So we need to take vitamin D, but it takes a long time to raise from 6 to 75 or even more. 125 is much better than 70, but 70 is okay. But you need to raise it. And when you take vitamin D in a high level, the liver and our system is only capable to take a little amount of it. The rest go to the toilet. So it takes a long time to get a healthy level of vitamin D. And I found that when we give vitamin D in a course, along the intake of vitamin D as a vitamin, then we can make in 8 weeks a level from 6 or 10 to 75. Because we make our body acceptable to do something with the vitamin D we take.
So nowadays, then, with what you're saying is that nutrition is key, as alongside, of course, homeopathy itself, the need for a balanced diet, which, so many are not following. It's so easy to have sugar. It's so easy. Everything is sugar when we go shopping. 90% of what actually attracts people is the sweet things. The cakes are very cleverly, I suppose, branded and marketed at the end of aisles, just before you get to the payment counter, or the chocolates, and then we have
but also the processed food. They put sugar in it. Even baby bottle fat, they get sweet in it, so they have a dopamine resistant brain cells, and also insulin resistant brain cells. So they become sick of this. They get early dementia or early diabetes, or even cancer because of this. Because in the sugar contains exophene, and exophene promote the production of dopamine. The glutamate and the GABA, the DHB takes place for that. So there is no, because glutamate is the conductor of our neurologic system in our body, and that the glutamate is stopped, and it is then DHB taken the place of glutamate. And I explain this in the courses I give, and also in my book, how this works. We have made remedies from glutamate, and we have remedies GABA and exophene. When a child has a very big addiction for sugar, then I advise to give polysugars as a homeopathic remedy, as course, and exophene and GHB. And mostly within 16 weeks, the child doesn't pay attention anymore on sweet. And that's important. That's health.
How did you come across this specific method, human chemistry method? What led you to it? I mean, what was involved? Because it doesn't sound very easy to get to. But from hearing from what you've said, the results now seem to be incredible. And of course, very pertinent and very timely, of course. It's much needed. But the process of leading you, what was that thought process where you thought, okay, this is purely toxins, and this is that therapy, this is that method which I want to develop, which will, add this extra benefit to the patient, where you can actually flush away the toxins. And these include, there's an analogy, isn't there? If you can sweep all the dust under the rug, and the house will look the room will look quite nice. But when you lift the rug up, you see all the rubbish under there, all the dust particles and food bits, and excuse me. And the detox method certainly is, the way I see it, it's lifting the rug and saying, right, let's clean the slate. Let's get you back to how you're supposed to be. And then whatever presenting complaint remains is then treated accordingly.
Yeah, that's precisely what happens when I with patient, and I do the repertorizations and things, and then I give the treatment, and I see progress, but not what I want or what the patients want. And then I start to see precisely what he eats, what he drinks, how he lives, and do research. What happens? He eats only this, or he is addicted to that. What happened with this substance in the human chemistry? And then I find that sometimes I'm a whole evening busy with one patient because I'm very irritated when I don't find the solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's commitment, actually. That's dedication to healing.
Yeah. So, and I do research. And because of this research, I found the path in neurotransmitters and hormones. So in the case of infertility, a lot of men and women has this nowadays.
Mm.
When you know how the system works, how the pathology, but also the chemistry is around conception, then you can understand what is wrong.
Mm.
And what brings the patient to become infertile. So 90% of my patients become fertile again, even when they have got IVF several times with no success. We are able as homeopaths to get them fertile again. What is happening? So I'm so happy that I'm gifted with this, that I can share it with other people.
I think it's so important. And I know that Palin Brzezinski was on the show. You will know Palin. She was on the show talking about human chemistry. And of course, Roger has been talking about this method as well. And it seems, I think that, those who are not aware need to know this method is there, because purely for the sake of the patients, as Dr. Samuel Hahnemann said, the highest ideal of cure is the rapid, gentle, and permanent restoration of health. So as homeopaths, as practitioners, as healers, as people who listen to patients, we don't just give medicine, we listen and we support them and we give them a shoulder to lay their worries upon. And this is all part and parcel of this. And we have a toolbox, and one should not necessarily become too rigid that one remedy or two remedies will fix all. Totally a different world that we live in from the time of Hahnemann, and even some of the subsequent great homeopaths. Times have changed drastically, and mental health conditions are increasing so much, and it's such a worry. Nobody seems to be nobody seems to be happy inside. They may have a smile, but there's always this constant irritation, is a word you used earlier, but I'll use that as well. This irritation or this unease that I just don't feel right. And this surely has to do with what we eat, the air we breathe, and everything else that we put inside our bodies, which our body doesn't know how to react to. Roger, I wanted to bring you in on this, and the fact that you're obviously using Ton's very incredible method here. Yeah. I must say, the human chemistry method, homeopathic detox and human chemistry method or protocol. And you've seen some incredible results, haven't you? Because we've been talking off air as well, and you mentioned this last time as well. And it's so needed, isn't it? It's so needed.
That's right. And Ton, something that we could have said is that by having introduced this new class of remedies into homeopathy, along the lines of an old style advertisement that used to appear in England, they can reach the parts that other methods do not reach. We can address conditions and the suffering of people where before we were struggling. So if we are faced with, as we often are, a case where somebody has had, say, 10 or 12 courses of steroid treatment, 20 or 30 courses of antibiotics, 30 years of contraception, a lot of vaccinations, including many travel and tropical ones. If we want to give just one remedy, one dose, we are really wondering, where do we start? Now, by working with Ton and seeing the clues he's given, we can pick our way through this maze and see a way to open up the possibilities of recovery. It's a bit like the title of his plant remedy book, Finding Your Way Through the Forest of Symptoms. So we can find our way through this jungle of complications that people have brought on themselves. And you said that in these days, and Ton has said, people have more layers of toxicity, and that only in the past could they give a single remedy and achieve cure. Well, it's, I think, also to do with urbanization, civilization, and simple life. People who've gone to treat in distant villages say they can still see these clear traditional remedy pictures because those people anyway haven't had this toxic overload, basically.
Where Hahnemann,
now with complex people. Hahnemann was in the country, wasn't he?
Where Hahnemann gets his information from herbalists.
Right. Yeah.
And from the chemistry from his study he did.
Yes.
And he was reading a lot of things about, and he found also the detox method because he gives people who works with mercury or was treated by mercury because of gonorrhea or syphilis, mercury.
That's right. And Ton, the famous...
And he gave arsenic to people who works with arsenic. And lead with people who works with lead.
Yeah. Arsenic was in the paste they used to put the wallpaper on the wall, and they were breathing it. And of course, the famous case is the painter who he couldn't get well, and then went to visit him in his studio and found he was licking the paintbrush before putting the paint on the canvas, and then found it was made from the sepia ink, the cuttlefish ink.
Yeah.
Gave that. So in that sense, that was a sepia detox. Now we often use it as a constitutional remedy, but it began as a clearance of a cause of disease.
Even I found allopathic remedies as a constitutional remedy.
Right. Yes.
So it's beautiful what we have in hands.
Yes.
What we need to have to be open-minded and look what happens. We do provings with our webinars and seminars. It's amazing what kind of beautiful results we have. So
and people get very similar symptoms to each other without knowing what it is that they have received. So we get a good confirmation, and it helps us then using the new remedies.
So do share some examples, perhaps, if you can, some just basic examples of where or what changes have occurred in patients for certain conditions that they've presented themselves with, just to give the listeners an idea of, this human chemistry method and what's involved.
Maybe it looks like a very simple topic. A child who is, we make always a timeline. So we can see in the timeline what happens before conception, what was around the conception, what was in the pregnancy, what was with labor. Labor nowadays and pregnancy is industry. Nearly 50% of the young children are cesarean labor. There is a problem with oxytocin. There is a birth trauma. This is not a method. I come from a family from 10 children, all at home. all healthy. I'm happy that in Holland, still 80% of the children are delivered at home. But more and more mothers go to the hospital because there might be a problem. They all induced and go for the quick process for labor, but it isn't quick and it isn't painless. They get more pain, more difficulties because of this.
Yeah.
And of course, it is a good thing that we can make a cesarean section in a case of, but mainly the children will, the labor is never smooth. It is always with pain. And pain is what we may have nowadays. There's no need to have pain. Our body is not able to deal with pain anymore because of all the painkillers.
Even a needle prick now can cause real pain as such, and somebody can say it's magnified, isn't it, by 100 times, and you think, but it's nothing there. So, for example, those people who take they do a pin prick for the diabetes check for the blood glucose levels, and I've seen some people thinking, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. He said, but it's nothing. It's like it really can't be. It's just literally a second of initial pain and it's gone. And that's just one very tiny example, but it's so true what you've said, because we're so reliant on a quick fix.
For myself, to the dentist, when it is necessary to extract a teeth, I take 1 dopamine, 200, and I said to the dentist, remove these teeth without local anesthetic, do it. And this dentist said, no way. I said, I don't go out of this chair, you do it. His assistant says, I take your hand. When it is painful, we can give you still anesthesia. So I had a blue hand after the extraction because she was squeezing my hand. I had only one moment that I say, ooh. And that was the moment the nerve goes off the root of the teeth. And afterwards, no complaints at all. When you have a local anesthetic, you have hours problems and bleedings, and afterwards you have phantom pain because there is no pain, but it is really crazy in how we live nowadays with pain, with life, with love, with everything is changed. We are crazy.
It's all quick, isn't it? Everything has to be quick. You spoke very eloquently about the problems with fertility, but even that, I speak to so many patients that come in and it's almost like a panic and a rush. Oh, we haven't had a child yet, and it's like, well, you've only been married 3 weeks.
Really?
Just these things take time.
When the first half year it doesn't work.
Yeah. There's no rush. I always say to them, I said, well, what's the panic? What's the emergency? If you're in this state now, then you're going to actually end up. One can bar pregnancy, as you know, just because of the mindset at that time. You can completely close off, and but it's always this rush, and quick fix, pop a pill here, pop a pill there. Of course, look, they're needed. That's not what we're talking about. But what I'm talking about is the culture of just popping a pill and carrying on the train tracks rather than stopping at a station, coming off, just taking a deep breath and observing around you that, okay, I need to sort something out now. Let me take 5 minutes. Let me take half an hour. Isn't it? Yeah.
So I see patients with infertility, especially in women, who has already 2 or 3 abortus provocatis. And then at a certain moment they want a child, and it doesn't happen. So, of course, I help them, because I'm not a judge. So I give them the remedy, and I open the case mostly with cecale cornutum.
Okay.
and then afterwards they get very sad about what they did in the past. So there is a silent sadness. And mostly it opened the way for fertility. So I wait for 1 or 2 months to see what happens. And then when they get pregnant, I can say with a patient who get pregnant, get a healthy child, and very quickly afterwards, she become pregnant again. And she decide to do an abortion provocatus. And 3 years later she came, I want to have a child, it's not coming. I work already for a year. And I said, stop to work. You want to plan everything. So I give Sekale and a course of DHA and Platina. And after this course, she was not pregnant. I said, you only finished a few days and you want to be pregnant. Go home and see what happens. And she gets a second child. So, and I also advise to make love. Don't make a child, make love. Don't be busy with to make a child, because then the oxytocin goes back, there is not enough, and there is no possibility to fertilization.
Well, it just goes back to what we're talking about. Everything is rushed, and it's a process, and it's about achieving certain goals. And it's not that easy, as we very well know. Life doesn't work like that. We can have goals, but to achieve them, we need to be in the right frame of mind. Otherwise, we make a mess of things, don't we? You have to have a systematic approach, logical approach that makes sense and that you can follow step by step.
When the child is over time and it's not a delivery, then we have beautiful remedies for this.
You have over 30 years of experience as a homeopath, and now this very timely, I did say this earlier as well, very pertinent protocol of homeopathic detox and human chemistry is out there. So how are you finding the acceptance, or the how are homeopaths taking to it? How are they receiving it? How are they accepting it?
There is a group who is very enthusiastic, and they have very good running practice, so they can have their income from homeopathy, and because of the results. If you have results, the patient comes. You don't need to have commercials or advertisement. I never advertise. I want to show what I do, so I need to say something. I need to share my knowledge, and I need to work on that people knows about this method. But a lot of people think there is only one river to the ocean. And I say also in my book, there are many rivers of knowledge, and they go to one ocean of knowledge, and there we can swim all. And don't be narrow-minded, be open-minded. And it goes not about the homeopath, it goes about the patient.
Absolutely. We are custodians, are we not, for a patient until that time when the dis-ease has become ease.
And we need also to be aware of the healer energy as well, because there are more roads to Rome. We say you need to be a healer to understand how you work with homeopathy. Years ago, I make a mistake, and I saw it afterwards, that I want to give arsenic as a homeopathic remedy, and I gave abrotanum by accident because it was on the wrong place. But the patient did perfect on it. Abrotanum has the same, nearly the same mental problems as abrotanum.
John, I once took hyoscyamus instead of hypericum because they're next to each other in the drawer. My homeopath at the time was most interested because he'd been thinking of hyoscyamus. I told him I didn't like the effect of it, but it probably worked well.
Yeah. So it goes about the energy also from the homeopath.
It is, isn't it? So true that it's all about intention. If the heart is clean and the intention is there, then sometimes what you may see as a mistake, perhaps, that in prescribing actually isn't. It's probably a mistake that was needed to be made to get the patient back to health.
Yeah. So we are led by, how you say it? I say by God, because we are a particle of God in my point of view.
So the heart has to be clean. It has to be unbiased. It has to be deserving. And the way to achieve that is to be humble and not have an ego. Your patient is king, literally. And you have to talk to them. You have to have a soft heart. You have to have compassion and empathy, and you have to resonate with them and give them some love. You know, show them love and that feeling that you want to help them. When I get calls, I'm sure this is exactly the same for both of your respected selves. I always say to a patient, please don't worry, I'm going to do my best to help you.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do, right? The best we can. But 50% of the actual problem disappears because they come to the clinic, or it's a consult on Zoom and or whatever, and they're so different to the actual initial phone call, because it's like they already know you, because you've broken that layer where sometimes there's a barrier. But when you really want to help somebody, just those words, because they have to come from the heart, can make such a difference to people, and they feel so happy.
We've made a link and they've started to unburden themselves.
Yes.
Now, something Ton hasn't emphasized perhaps quite enough today is that whatever the debate about one remedy or more remedies, there's also the fact that we are absolutely not saying we can change people from a terrible state to a wonderful state by just a remedy or two, and not asking them about how they're living. Go on, Ton, pick up that point.
Yeah, I give advices about food, exercise, vitamins, minerals when necessary. The best is to get the vitamins and minerals out of your food. But there are circumstances like vitamin D, with all the blue light of all the equipment we used mostly the whole day, even now, that suck our vitamin D. So we need to add vitamin D. In the past, it was enough in butter, in different kind of oils, in fish fat, but nowadays there is not enough. And don't eat the whole day. Intermittent fasting is very important, especially when you have a disease. And when you have cancer, you can have only 2 meals a day, no low carbs, and also exercise. For some people, it is healthy to go in a cold bath. I do it for myself. I follow Wim Hof method. Every morning I go also in the winter, I crack the ice and I go in the water. Ooh.
The ice man.
Cold.
I do not do it, but Ton is the ice man, you see. Well, he's got used to it. I have to push myself to go into a pool at 12 degrees. He'll go in at 6 or 3 or 0.
Oh, 0 is not possible. That's ice.
Well, 1 degree then.
Do you get quite used to it, or is it still a bit of a thrill each time you go into the water and that first ooh?
When I go in the water and I'm gonna sit there and I start to breathe, I always breathe, but slowly and deeply. And the best is to breathe out, because your system start to burn the sugars in your system, and then it starts to burn fat, and that takes a moment, and that's the moment that you have.
Interesting. Well, I must say, though, it's obviously helping you, because you look really fine and dandy and very fit and healthy.
I am.
Good. And that's how it should be, because we need you. Homeopathy needs you.
Yeah.
And,
but I don't advise everybody to go in cold water, because for some people it's not possible. You need to train, you need to know how to do it. And you start in the summer and go slowly to colder and colder water.
Of course, yeah. For the listeners, please don't just, as they say on TV, don't try this at home unless you're absolutely sure.
That's right. Well, Ton, you did say people doing it need to have a high level of vitamin B3.
Yeah.
The niacin. Yes, and not everybody can take the full power niacin, so we have to be careful.
And it is very healthy, B3, to protect your system from radiation. So, and it is also the thermometer in our system. When you have the disease of Raynaud, you have a low level of B3.
Ton, I as you said that, I was just thinking the importance of nutrition, and it's not just homeopathy. We have to look at nutrition and food, because it plays a big part. It's just like saying, if someone is playing football and they get kicked in the ankle and you give them remedies to heal, and then they go back and they get kicked in the ankle again, you're just being inflicted and there's never going to be a cure. So unless you treat the root cause of stop being kicked in the ankle, which means obviously either stop playing football or play with somebody else who doesn't kick you in the ankles, you're not going to get better. And that analogy is like vitamins and nutrition and diet. And when we eat greens, it's, even though a large majority of people, certainly I speak to when I give them nutritional information, I said, have more greens. It's always, we don't like greens, we like our chicken, or we like our beef or lamb, but it's so important, isn't it, to cleanse and to give that crispness, that crisp nutrition.
Yeah, and if you take more than 100 grams of meat a day, that's too much. 75 grams is enough. You can eat the most important vital vitamin is every day an egg, a soft boiled egg. Everything is there, only vitamin C is not there. Morning I eat always a whole basket of all kinds of fruit, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, pieces of apple. That's what I eat every morning, together with one egg and a cup of tea.
I absolutely love raspberries. I could swim in raspberries. I could have a shower in raspberries.
Yeah.
The juice, I hope. Yeah.
I really I think they're just so succulent and delicious.
Yeah. Do you like the color?
I love the color. I love that.
Maybe you need to take raspberry as a remedy.
It won't stop me taking raspberries, will it?
There is a remedy raspberry.
There is, yes.
Yeah, I gonna.
Isn't it Gaius rubras or something?
I've never used it,
but it is there. Rubus idaeus.
That's nearly right.
And the is the rose team, and the rose team is for this Rubus idaeus. It is very similar to the brain bell, with the same. They trapped in their relation. I don't know if you have this.
Thankfully not.
Okay, so don't take it. When it is not fit, the remedy, it do nothing when you give it in a higher potency.
But it might be suiting your current cold, because it does have quite a lot of gastrointestinal symptoms, I see.
Interesting. Yes. That worked out quite well. It was worth having this conversation, wasn't it? For the listeners, for the benefit of the listeners, Ton, just for raspberry, which materia medica did you refer to?
My materia medica, the Find Your Way in the Forest of Symptoms, and that goes about plants and trees.
And if anyone is interested in purchasing the book, which I'm quite sure they will be, can they purchase that through the homeopathic online bookstores, I guess? And
yes, bol.com, Emery's, and the big one, Amazon.
Brilliant. For those who want to know the website, Ton, do you want to let them know?
My website is humanchemistry.eu.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We're out of time, sadly, but that doesn't mean we're out of conversation. So, Roger and Ton, I was thinking that perhaps in January, we can do another recording.
And I hope they will introduce my method on the schools of homeopathy in the world. I see a few young homeopaths who start with this method. They have great success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I certainly hope that happens very, very soon for you as well.
I hope I become so old as my grandfather, 100 years.
I hope it's more than that.
And still working, you see.
He works to his 96.
There is some truth behind the fact that those who truly serve humanity, God blesses them with a very long life, extended life, because they're doing good. And they're given this opportunity to do more good until, such time that, of course, that they can't. So I certainly hope I'm still around and you're around when you're 103 and we can still have a friendship and talk.
Yes, I hope. I hope, and I think it must be possible. But we need to be aware that we never die. We are not born, we not die. We are from forever.
It's just a transition.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Just like a transition from dis-ease to ease, life and death is very similar. It's one door to the next door.
Yeah. You see, your life is only a dream.
That's, again, I agree with you. But we have to do good. We have to make the best of ourselves.
But we can make
world.
a heaven on the world. Thank you for this interview.
No, thank you to you, Ton Jansen, and of course the delightful Roger Savage. It's, as I said to you earlier, my heart is on my sleeve. So when I say it's been a great honor for me, I truly mean it. It has. And of course, I look forward to coming back in a few months and we can delve a bit deeper into the human chemistry method and the importance and the role of understanding chemistry, actually, to then being able to understand disease.
Yeah, that's the base of to understand disease, to know the chemistry.
Well, thank you so much. It's been great.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
I do hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. Please do support the show by clicking follow on my socials. Remember, the more exposure the podcast receives, the better for homeopathy around the world. You can find me on Instagram by searching for @like_treatslike, and on both Facebook and TikTok by searching for @like_treatslike. So let's promote the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcast around the world together. Don't forget to visit me online at www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast tab. Here you'll be able to see all the guests that have joined me on the show so far. And of course, you can stream on demand the latest episode to your mobile, tablet or PC. Until next time, stay safe and take care.